So picture this. You're in a big airport, carry-on in one hand, coffee in the other. Flight boards in 22 minutes. You walk up to the gate, no boarding pass, no digging for your ID. You don't even slow down. You look at the camera, the gate opens, and you're on the jet bridge for maybe 5 seconds. That's not a concept video. That's happening right now at airports across the country. And it's not just airports. It's cruise terminals. It's hotel rooms that set themselves to your temperature before you even touch the door. The travel industry has quietly rebuilt itself around one identifier: your face. Today, airports, cruise ships, and hotels, what's actually live, what it knows about you, and how to use it on your terms. This is episode 9, the identity area, and your face is the ticket. Welcome to Cabins and Clouds, where travel meets technology. I'm Eric. We talk about upgrades on this show all the time. This isn't an upgrade, it's a rewire. Biometrics and connected sensors stopped being a perk for early adopters and became the operating systems of travel. It runs before you even know it's running. And here's the thing. The technology isn't good or bad on its own. It's a mirror. It shows you exactly how much a company respects the people walking through its doors. Some are building it right. Some are cutting corners. But at the end of this episode, you'll know how to tell the difference. So let's get into it. So let's start with the airports, because that's where it all crystallized for me. I was coming home from work, tired, running on bad caffeine, and I got to the gate and just walked through. No pause, no handoff, and I just stood on the jet bridge thinking, when did this happen? The answer is gradually. Then, all at once. In October 2025, right before the World Cup, Clear and TSA launched biometric eGates at Atlanta, Reagan National, and SeaTac. You scan your boarding pass at the security checkpoint and look at a camera. And then the system matches your live face to your government ID and then to your flight in 3 to 6 seconds. Then you walk straight to screening. One catch. During the pilot, it's for Clear Plus members. Only about $209 a year. Clear funds the entire hardware, so no taxpayer cost, but still, you kind of ask. Delta went more accessible with their digital ID, now renamed TSA PreCheck Touchless ID. It's free if you have PreCheck and SkyMiles account, and it's live at more than 60 airports, including every Delta hub. So it cuts bag drop times to about 30 seconds instead of 2 minutes. That's 75% faster straight from Delta's own numbers. 30 seconds is a different category of experience, and at the scale is bigger than most people realize. Customs and Border Patrol, Border Protection, CBP, now run facial comparison for travelers entering the U.S. at 238 airports. India's Digi Yatra moves enrolled passengers through gates in about 5 seconds at more than 24 airports. These aren't processing times anymore, they're blinks. Now, here's the part that I need you to actually remember, because this is the single most useful thing in this episode. There are 2 different types of technologies that people are lumping together. They're not the same thing. Verification is what airports do. The cameras compare your face to the photo on your passport. One face, one document, one match. It's answering the question, are you who your document says you are? Identification is when a system searches a face against a big database to figure out who you are with no documentation involved. That's law enforcement territory. That's not what's happening at eGate. That distinction is the difference between a faster ID check and surveillance. When you read a privacy policy, that should be the first thing that you're looking for. Now, the accuracy that CBP says, the process is more than 98% accurate. And if that match fails, you just get a manual document check. But here's what changed in December 2025, and almost nobody covered it. A new DHS rule, Department of Homeland Security, rule made facial biometric collection mandatory for non-citizens at entry and exit. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can still opt out and you can ask CBP officers for a manual passport check. And a TSA checkpoint face scan is still optional for everyone. One more detail, that rule, photos of a U.S. citizen is deleted within 12 hours. Photos of a non-U.S. citizen are retained for up to 75 years. Same camera, very different afterlife for the data. And let's really talk about why this matters. The checkpoint didn't disappear. It got compressed into a glance. Travelers who understand verification versus identification move through checkpoints with ease. They're going to go through the identity era with confidence instead of anxiety. It's not that it's because they blindly trust. It's because they understand and they have read the policies associated with that scan or check. So if airports are the most visible deployment, cruise terminals are the most complete. Think about boarding a ship. 5,000 or 6,000 people all arriving in a window of a few hours. I've watched it. It looks exactly like what it sounds. Lines feeding into lines, families losing each other, embarkation cards dropped and needing to be reprinted. Carnival and Royal Caribbean decided they were done managing that. So they rebuilt the gate. Carnival runs facial recognition at 9 of its 14 U.S. home ports, including Miami, Puerto Canaveral, and Galveston, on ships carrying up to 6,400 guests. And here's the verified number. Disembarkation, getting off of the ship through customs, is 30% faster on average. If you've ever stood in that 7 a.m. customs line with kids and suitcases, you know 30% is not small. But here's the details that matter. More than the speed, Carnival's own policy says biometric data collected during your voyage is purged after the cruise. One voyage, one capture, gone. The terminal matches, runs through customs and border protection, and U.S. citizens can request a manual document check instead. Royal Caribbean system, built on IDEMA and running at Miami, Cape Liberty, does the capture and the match in about 2 seconds. It checks against CBP's own traveler verification services, meaning it's matching against the passport photo you've already gave the government, not building a new private database, and per IDEMA, no images are stored by Royal Caribbean. CBP, or IDEMA, after the trip ends, Holland America, Norwegian, Princess Celebrity, all rolling out the same technology. This is the whole sector, not an experiment. Now, the part that no one reads is the fine print on the wristbands. Once you're aboard, that RFID band isn't just a room key. It logs every purchase, every dining reservation, every location check-in. The ship knows more about your preferences after day one than most hotels learn in a year. Your drink orders, which restaurants you skipped, and which ones you came back to. That's not a metaphor, that's the data. So the trade is real, and it's worth naming. The face gets purged, behavior data doesn't necessarily get purged. Check what the app says about both. And here's why that matters. Cruise lines figured out something airlines are still learning. Boarding sets the emotional term and tone for the entire trip. If you board stressed out, you stay stressed out. You board stressed, and you spend your first hours on vacation recovering. Board in 30 seconds, and you're having fun. So this is really the experience that the cruise ships have started to really rely on. And that's what gets you going on vacation. And that's what biometric boarding actually buys you, that time saved. You cleared the airport in a glance, you boarded the ship without breaking a stride, and now you're in the room. Hotel rooms have always been a compromise. Standard space, your specific preferences, and 20 minutes of adjusting the thermostat and the curtains to meet in the middle. The smart room is designed to kill that friction before you open the door. Marriott launched Alexa for Hospitality with Amazon back in 2018, and the program is still running strong today across multiple brands. Lights, temperature, TV, service requests, all by voice. The exact room count is one of those things and one of those numbers that get repeated online without a proper source, so I won't quote one. But what is verifiable is that voice control in hotel rooms went from a novelty to a norm. Hilton's connected room makes your phone the key and the remote. You can press the temperature and the lighting preferences in the room in the app while you're still in the rideshare. No front desk, curb to elevator to room. Underneath the voice stuff, there's a full sensor layer. Occupancy detection, so housekeeping only comes in when you're out. Lighting that shifts warm at night and cool in the morning. Connected minibars, which honestly means no more mystery charges for the water that you never touched. There's the layer that goes past comfort into memory. The room is preset for 66 because the system knows you run warm. TV picking the series you left off on 3 months ago. The brand of sparkling water you like. I walked into a room like that once, and the temperature was exactly right, the curtains were at the right angle, and I stood there genuinely unsure whether to be delighted or unsettled at this experience. And honestly, I think it's a little bit of both. Because here's the number that I refuse to soft pedal. Viking Cloud's 2025 hospitality report found 82% of North American hotels were hit by cyber attacks last summer. That's nearly, and it was nearly 4 or 5 times. 82% of hotels were deployed and not securing every sensor. And that's a connection point, an entry point between every single one of those sensors. The good news is under GDPR and CCPA, personalization of data is an opt-in, opt-out situation. And that means that even under the apps, you can separate those two. You can stop the tracking, but keep the personalization. The room is becoming more personalized, and that's an important part of travel. This travel space is going to be incredibly important because hotels got warmer as institutions, but because they finally built infrastructure that listened, the hotel that earns trust through security and real opt-out will own the next generation of loyalty. The ones that don't will own the next generation of headlines. It's that simple. Let's bring them together. 3 sectors, 1 thread. At the airport, your face clears you in seconds. At the terminal, it opens the gangway. At the hotel, your preferences beat you to the room. The travelers who win this era aren't the ones who opt out of everything out of fear. Fear-based opt-out usually costs more than it protects. But there's also not the ones that are tapping agree on every checkbox because the line is moving. Reflective compliance is just as uninformed as reflective refusal. The move is informed consent. Open your eyes. See, here's your homework before your next trip. 3 things, maybe 5 minutes each. Number 1, are you flying soon? Before you enroll in Clear or Delta Digital ID or whatever PreCheck ID you have, find 3 things in that data policy: how long your biometrics are retained, whether or not they're sharing it with third parties, and how deletion works. That's not paranoia. That's being a smart user of a powerful system. Number 2, do you have a cruise booked? Open the Carnival Hub or Royal Caribbean app tonight. Read the biometric consent labels and languages. Know what you're enrolling in before you get to the gangway, and there's 5,000 people behind you trying to get on the same ship. Number 3, do you have a hotel stay coming up? Open that Bonvoy app or the Hilton's Honors app and look at the personalization settings. Turn on what serves you. Like Digital Key, turn it on. Turn off everything else that doesn't work for you. That's literally what the settings are for. And remember, If you're a U.S. citizen, you can still opt out of the face scan at the border and at TSA checkpoints, no penalty. Since 2025, that choice is no longer existent for non-citizens at entry and exit. So know which rules apply to you before you travel. And as always, your face is the ticket. The question isn't whether or not you use it, it's knowing exactly what you're buying with it. So, that's episode 9, and I'm Eric Stoltz. If this made you want to read a data policy for the first time in your life, we did our job. Subscribe, follow, tag somebody that would also enjoy this. Leave a review and share this with somebody who also travels, which eventually is everyone. There is also a companion blog that I've pinned to the comments down below to get a fact-checked information, and if you're looking to book a trip, check out Not So Average Vacations to get you moving in the right direction. But until then, go out and enjoy the trip.